Hello friends, hello everyone. First of all, I am congratulate to you for getting the admission in KRT Arts BH Commerce and AM Science College, popularly known as the KTHM College, Nasik. I hope you all are safe and healthy at home. Myself, PS Patil, working as assistant professor in chemistry department of this KTHM College. Today I am going to discuss the organic chemistry subject having course code CH102. So in the today's lecture we will see the syllabus of this organic chemistry, and immediately we start a fundamentals of organic chemistry, that is our first unit of this subject. In the last year, Savitribai Phule Pune University Pune implemented a choice-based credit system, that is CBCS pattern. This organic chemistry subject is having course code CH102. This subject is having 2 credits and 36 lecture, and the total marks for this course is 50 marks. These 50 marks are divided into 15 marks and 35 marks. So this 15 marks is having internal assessment, and for the 35 marks the external assessment is there. So in the internal assessment, college will conduct different tests, assignment and etc. While in the external assessment, the university conduct the exam. Okay, this is the CBCS pattern for our subject, that is organic chemistry. So we discuss the syllabus of this organic chemistry. This organic chemistry is having total 3 units. The first unit is fundamentals of organic chemistry, second stereochemistry, and the last one is aliphatic hydrocarbons. In the first unit we will see the physical effects, inductive effect, resonance effect, hyperconjugation, homolysis, heterolysis, how the structure and shape of organic molecule is determined, nucleophiles, electrophiles. Again we will see the carbonions, carbocations, free radical. Along with that we also see the strength of organic acids and bases. Aromaticity, Huckel's rule. All this part we will see in the first unit. Out of this part, some part we are very familiar. Okay. In the second unit, it is very new for you, stereochemistry. In that we see the introduction, classification of this stereochemistry, then how the molecules are represented on paper by using different formulas, that is Veitch, Newman, Sawhorse and Fischer formulae. Then conformation of ethane, butane and cyclohexane. That part we will see in this second unit. We are very familiar with cis and trans isomer. So along with that cis and trans isomer, we will see E and Z nomenclature. Then we also familiar with enantiomer, diastereomer, mesocompounds, concept of chirality, erythros, threos, DL pair. So along with that we also see R and S configuration. So this part we will see in the second unit, that is stereochemistry. And the last unit, that is aliphatic hydrocarbons. This is very simple unit. You have already studied this unit in the 11th and 12th standard. It contains alkane, alkenes and alkynes. So we see the preparation reaction of alkane, alkene and alkynes. Along with that we also see the reactions of alkane, alkene and alkynes. Some name reactions we also discuss. We also see in this third unit, that is aliphatic hydrocarbons. Okay, so this is the brief introduction to our syllabus of this organic chemistry. So immediately we start our first unit, that is fundamentals of organic chemistry. So before starting with our unit, we must know the definition of organic chemistry. So what is this organic chemistry? It is the branch of chemistry which deals with the study of structure, properties and composition and the preparation of carbon containing compounds. What it say? It is the study of structure, properties, composition, reaction, preparation of carbon containing compounds is known as a organic chemistry. Okay. So our first point of this unit is physical effects. It is nothing but the physical properties of organic compound. So which are the physical properties? Which are the physical effects? These four are the physical effects. First one is the dipole moment, melting point, boiling point and solubility. So one by one we will see the physical effect. The first is dipole moment. Dipole moment occur due to the difference in electronegativity between the two chemically bonded atoms. So we consider the example here HCl. So in that HCl, H is electropositive, hence it acquires delta positive charge, and Cl is electronegative, so it acquires delta negative charge. Okay, so these two atoms having different electronegativity. So dipole moment, it is occur due to the difference in electronegativity between two chemically bonded atoms. Okay, so this is nothing but the dipole moment. The dipole moment is a vector quantity since it has both magnitude and direction. Being a vector quantity, it can also be zero, as the two oppositely acting bond dipoles can cancel each other. For this third point, we consider the example BF2. We consider the example BF2. So it having a linear structure, 1F to the right side, 1F to the left side. Okay, so this is the linear structure of this BF2. So what happened? This F is more electronegative. So all electrons are transferred to this side. Again, one F is present on left side. So again the electronegativity shifted to this side. So net electronegativity is 0. Hence the dipole moment is 0 dV. dV is the unit of this dipole moment. Okay. So you have to remember the definition and the examples of this dipole moment. Then we proceed to the next slide, that is melting point. We are familiar with this point. Melting point, it is nothing but a temperature, the temperature at which solid and liquid phases are in equilibrium. In short, we say that when solid is heated, it gets converted into liquid. That point, it is nothing but the melting point of that particular solid. Okay. We take the example here. Ionic compounds has higher melting point and non-ionic compounds have very low melting point. For the ionic compound, we consider the example NaCl. Why we call it as NaCl is ionic? Because there is a separation of charge, Na plus and Cl minus. Hence we call it as it is a ionic compound. So this ionic compound is having higher melting point, that is 801 degrees Celsius. While non-ionic compound, that is methane, it having a melting point minus 183 degrees Celsius. Why? Because in the ionic compound, a sodium chloride, each positively charged ion is surrounded by number of negatively charged ion and vice versa, right? So in that, the strong electrostatic force of attraction exists between the ions, and for that the energy required to break that strong electrostatic force is more. Hence they shows higher melting point. While in non-ionic compound, this strong electrostatic force of attraction is weak. Electrostatic force of attraction is weak. Hence, the melting point for the non-ionic compounds are very low. That is minus 183 degree Celsius. This is the figure which indicate melting point and the boiling point. And when the solid is directly converted into the gas, that is nothing but the sublimation, right? When liquid on freezing it form a solid, then gas on condensing it form a liquid. Okay, so you have to remember the point, definition of melting point, and along with that ionic and non-ionic compound shows higher and lower melting point. So you have to remember this point. Then the next one is boiling point. Boiling point is the temperature at which the vapor pressure of liquid is equal to the external pressure. In short, we say that when liquid is heated, it is directly converted into the gas. That is nothing but the boiling point of the liquid. Okay. So again we consider the example here. Ionic liquids have very high boiling point while non-ionic liquids have very low boiling points. The answer is again same. What is that? When the liquid is converted into gas, one liquid molecule is to be completely separate from the others so that it become totally free. So boiling point will depend upon the extent of intermolecular force present in the molecule of a liquid. Boiling point, it is depend on the intermolecular force present in the molecule of a liquid. So in ionic compound, ionic liquids, what happened? This electrostatic force is very strong and energy required to break this electrostatic force is high. Hence ionic liquids have higher boiling points. While in non-ionic liquids, what happened? Again this electrostatic force is very low, and due to that the energy required for breaking that electrostatic force, it is also less. Hence the non-ionic liquid has low boiling point. Here we see the example, liquid NaCl is having boiling point 1413 degrees Celsius, while non-ionic liquid, that is methane, it having minus 161.5 degrees Celsius. Okay, so you have to remember the definition and examples. Then we will see the next slide. This is the melting point apparatus. So this apparatus is used for find out the melting point of the solid compounds. So this is the Thales tube. It having a arm. In that we place a paraffin oil. This one is the capillary. This is the thermometer, rubber cork, clamp, and this one is the thermometer. Okay, so this is the arrangement of the melting point apparatus. So we first use the capillary whose one end is sealed. So we introduce the sample from this side and we tie the capillary in this way by using thread. Okay, then we heat the Thales tube in this way. We continuously move the burner in this way. So what happened? The motion of heat is continuously transferred in this way, and the solid get melt. Immediately we record the temperature at which the solid get melt. That is nothing but the melting point of that particular solid. So this instrument is used, this apparatus is used for the melting point determination. Okay. Then the last physical effect, that is solubility. So before starting this point, we must know what is solute, solvent and solution. We are familiar with these three terms, solute, solvent and solution. Solute, it is nothing but the substance which is dissolved, and solvent is the substance in which solute is dissolved, right? And solution, it is the homogeneous mixture of two or more substances. Okay. So what is solubility? It is the ability of an ionic compound to dissolve in water. What is solubility? It is the ability of an organic compound to dissolve in water. The maximum amount of substance that will dissolve in certain amount of solvent at given temperature is called solubility of that substance in a solvent. Okay, it is very simple. Then we see the example. Here we see the term saturated and unsaturated. For that we take a 30 gram of NaCl and 100 ml of water. What we do? We add this 30 gram of NaCl into the 100 ml of water. So what happened? This 30 gram of NaCl is completely dissolved in the 100 ml of water. So what we get? We get unsaturated solution of this compound. Completely dissolved, hence we call it as it is a unsaturated solution. But in the next example, we take 40 grams of NaCl and we again take 100 ml water. We mix these two. What happened? 36 gram NaCl is completely dissolved in this 100 ml water and 4 gram NaCl is remain undissolved. It is remain as it is. So due to that, this solution it is called a saturated solution. Okay, it is clear what is saturated and unsaturated solution. Here a complete dissolution of NaCl takes place, while here 36 gram of NaCl is dissolved, 4 gram of NaCl is remain undissolved. Hence such a solutions are called saturated solution. Okay, it is clear. Then we see what is solvation. What is solvation? Here we take the example NaCl. NaCl it is a ionic solute while water is the polar solvent. So in this case Na plus is the cation while Cl minus is the anion. So this Cl minus anion is surrounded by positive ion from the solvent, while this Na plus cation is surrounded by negative ions from the solvent. Okay, so what happened here? The attractive force is very small. Large number of solvent molecules are surrounded the ions in a solute and the total energy available is enough to separate the ion in the solute. This process it is called a solvation. And here we use water as a solvent, hence it is also called the hydration process. Okay, so these are called solvated anion and these are called solvated cation. So in short what we understand, these anions are surrounded by positive ion from the solvent and cations are surrounded by negative ion from the solvent. So this whole process it is called solvation. And here we use water, hence it is also called hydration process. Okay. So in the today's lecture, we discuss the physical effects, dipole moment, melting point, boiling point and solubility. These four physical effects we see in the today's lecture. In the next lecture, we will see the electronic displacement. In that we see the inductive effect. Okay, thank you.